Hi everybody, I'm speaking from the heart today and I'm burdened with the situation and I just feel I need to share this with you. Around me you see the fruits of 3 decades of hard work. This nature reserve is the focus of all our research and rehabilitation work. It is an ecosystem unique in Namibia, which has provided so much valuable scientific insight over these years. We have achieved so much, and the knowledge we have harvested, be it on our big cats, the grazers, the rhinos, the pangolin, the aardvark, you name it, has contributed to the understanding of these threatened species. Now we need help. While COVID-19 has taken a terrible and very public human toll, the effects on wildlife are yet to be played out. Some stories out there have referenced that COVID-19 has allowed nature to regenerate itself, but these are not our findings. With income from AfriCat supporters and Okonjima guests at near nil, our world has turned upside down. The habitat behind me is under present threat. AfriCat needs your help again, and I know we don't really want to do this, but I have to ask, we need your support financially to protect what has been built up in the last 28 to 30 years. The all-important habitat for the animals out there. The animals that you have come to see and photograph and come to love and know by name. And the pictures that you've taken to take home with you. We are threatened like never before. After COVID-19 struck, we have limited staff, no resources, and limited equipment. This translates into not being able to protect this environment. Last week we had a fire that we managed to put out before it got out of control. But for this we need fire breaks.
The fire breaks. When a bushfire gets out of hand and it whips up the wind to about 20 knots, you're getting a fire burning at about 15 to 30 kilometers an hour. The only way to stop that is a decent fire break like we have now, which is about 15 meters on both sides of this property, and then 100 meters further on there's another 5-meter fire break, and then you set that, from that fire break you set it, the felt alight, and you burn it in, which we call a backburn, into this broader fire break to actually create a black band, a burnt band that will prevent the fire from actually jumping. These fire breaks are to stop bushfires which are rampant this time of the year and could burn down your total game park in a matter of hours if it's not controlled before it even gets to you. So fire breaks are really necessary, and especially now with this great rain we had over the past season, and that is a very expensive process.
Fire breaks are so important after the season's fantastic rains to protect the grazing and to protect the animals. We are such at risk of fire this year. We've had a long drought until this year's good rain. If we lose this grazing, there will be no food for the animals. And I don't even want to think about that. We need everything that is supplement feeding for these animals as we now move into our drier season.
Another thing is game licks, very important for the health of an animal. Salt is a very important one. We have a phosphate deficiency, so calcium phosphate is very important. These animals, because they cannot leave the borders of this reserve in search of micronutrients that they may run short of in the park, if these animals become malnourished, they lose their weight, they don't have the right nutrients within them, they will succumb to disease.
This is another cost that just we are unable to bear right now. We are also unable to maintain and fix our roads.
We've had to put down and maintain more than 300 kilometers of roads. These roads allow us access to all corners of the park for anti-poaching, to be able to manage, control fires, to be able to monitor animals, for our researchers to be able to get to their subjects. The water holes. We have more than 20 water holes on the whole park, of which quite a few of them are in areas where there is no underground water. So another challenge we have is that large parts of the property have no underground aquifers. So there's no solar pumps, there are no boreholes, so the only thing we have is small ground dams like this. They only last for a few months of the year. And from about August until the rains come again, we need to actually truck water into this area. If we don't, all the game in that area moves to the permanent water holes, and those areas become heavily overgrazed.
The animals must be protected in the relative safety of our reserve. We have limited means to even continue basic veterinary care. Research also needs to wind down without any grants.
We also have high veterinary costs. These costs are needed to be covered because the vets have to look after the animals. They have to help us monitor the research animals in the park. Collars have to be replaced, those that are getting too tight of animals that are growing into them. We also still have quite a few animals in our carnivore care center. These animals need to be fed on a daily basis. That's also a huge expense. And through all these years, by building up a very lucrative ecotourism industry on Okonjima, always managed to fund and run these programs. And AfriCats and all their donors were allowed to use that funding for developing their projects.
The reserve has yielded so many findings over the last 3 decades. This is the wretched harvest of COVID-19. And that brings us to the most heartbreaking issue: rising poaching throughout the country. High numbers are being poached, mostly for food. These are hard times, and the poaching pressure is at an all-time high. We try to ration fuel amongst a few volunteers going out in the middle of the night, but that is not enough.
But once it starts getting dark, I think
And the reserve is under grave threat. Sometimes I feel that if it's not the fire that wipes us out, then poaching will. We have limited resources to protect the animals or their basic needs. As the sun sets, it is all tragic, and I understand donor fatigue and the myriad causes which all have merit. But here I stand asking you humbly for a lifeline for these animals. Please, if you can, we will stretch every penny for the sake of the reserve. Thank you, thank you, thank you.